And now, the time fight fans all across the globe have been waiting for. It's the MTMV main card with your man, The Voice. As always, in the opposite corner, my mano Imano, my verbal sparring partner, Philly's finest, Wildress Ruffin.
Yes, indeed. I appreciate you leading in with the Philly's finest since, my team right now is possibly, competing for a World Series and y'all are at home, but it's all
For
good.
what?
For a World Series.
Possibly. Serious.
I don't even want to hear it, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's your man Wildress with the man, the myth, the legend, the man with his own t-shirt, The Voice. You see the halo over top of his head, but don't get it twisted. Voice wants to smoke it all time, and it's 7:15. Voice, it's Tuesday. You know what time it is, right?
Smoke o'clock.
Smoke o'clock. And we got a good show for you all today, covering the biggest fight of the year. I know we say that a lot, but this is a fight that people have been anticipating since 2022. Also, a history-making women's featherweight championship bout. That's actually going to be 12 rounds, 3-minute rounds, first time since 2007. So we got some good things to get into with you. But let's go ahead and get into KOs and low blows. Voice, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Let's get into it. Now, recent statements from Tyson Fury and Alexander Volkanovski kind of sparks the question about fighters' identity and how fighters sometimes define themselves their entire lives, actually, by being in the ring. Now, if you recently saw post-fight after UFC 294, Alexander Volkanovski was holding back tears and actually expressed that he felt the need to take the bout on short notice to stay busy due to what he later stated was pressures that he had been feeling both personally and professionally. Now, it caused a lot of concern from people, and he later actually spoke on his YouTube channel where he stated, so straight after the fight, I did the post-fight press conference, and I want people to understand that, yeah, there was raw emotion seen, but I want everyone to know that I'm okay. I think that people have to remember that I did just come off getting tagged, knocked out, I lost. I knew that legacy-wise and all that, all those things started to come into play. So this was obviously hurting for me. Now, also keep in mind, Volkanovski also just welcomed a daughter into his family, and also he was recovering from an injury. So, Voice, what are your thoughts on this? Because we do kind of see this a lot where fighters are ultimately define their entire life by that. Tyson Fury even stated that he's looking to get a 10-bout fight because he doesn't know what to do at 35 afterwards. So what are your thoughts on this and how this mental health should be covered in combat sports?
This is such a loaded question because what these men are facing is serious. And we've seen a number of fighters fight well past the time that they should have retired or return well after they retired because they just can't get this fix anywhere else. The discipline and the regimentation of being in camp, purpose that it gives. I mean, again, this is something that people, but specifically men, face regardless of what you do. Case in point, my father, when they told him you cannot work anymore physically, you just cannot do it, and we won't have you back, he immediately started going down in his health soon after that because he felt as if he lost his purpose. In fighting, it's much more dangerous. My father worked for Chrysler. Okay, so you can't put cars together, not a big deal. For fighters, you can't hear the roar of the crowd. You can't get in there and do what you love to do, which is get hit all over your body, but specifically in your head. It's much more dangerous for you to continue on. And as far as what to do about it, I don't know. Because like I said, you see it everywhere and in all kinds of sports. Why did Tom Brady play that last year? He couldn't shake the itch. So it is a problem. It's a problem that is difficult to tackle because there are only so many jobs that you can have that'll keep you around the business and keep you going. Only so many slots on TV. only so many translator slots, only so many organizations, and we may be down an organization or two before the year's up. We don't know. So as far as what to do about it, I don't know, outside of pray for the fighters. We enjoy what they do for the time that they are plying their trade, but they still have a whole lot of life left after they leave the arena for the last time.
Definitely. I think that carries over, like you said, to a lot of sports. I feel with so many professional sports, especially with something as physical as boxing, there should be preparations for assisting boxers with post fight life. Like one thing I love, Andre Iguodala recently announced his retirement, and when you look at what he's been doing and what he's been preparing for the last few years, I mean, he's got a portfolio of things, and he found something that kind of set his soul on fire outside of being on the court. You can even look at Floyd Mayweather. Even though he takes exhibition fights, he's got a plethora of things that he's actually into. And I think that's something that we have to continue to look into. Sometimes we do forget that these fighters are human. We kind of look at them and it's like, we just want to see somebody get knocked out, not realizing this loss can be food off their table, or it can be the end of their career. And that's a tough sport to do, whether you're at the top or if you're at the bottom. So commending all fighters who are going through that. Here at the main card, we're always big on mental health advocacy, and if you need help, definitely make sure that you reach the right people to get that help. Now, moving on to something slightly different, Misfit Boxing. Many people called it a dumpster fire, voice. As an entertainment product, however, it seems that the Misfit Boxing Prime card was a major success. The celebrity boxing promoter and social media news source Happy Punch recently reported that Saturday's Misfit pay-per-view sold approximately 1.3 million buys, and they're not even sure if that counts the YouTube buys also. Now, this also comes on the heels of Showtime ending its sports division and boxers speaking out about having a seat at the table. Voice, what are your opinions on where boxing and MMA fans are putting their money?
It's very interesting, specifically, not so much from the MMA perspective, although as time goes on, we'll see what happens there, because there are some things that are happening in MMA that are akin to what we've seen in recent history in boxing. But the success of Misfits, and we talked about this a little bit offline, the fact that it was 1.3 million. Yes, they do. Blue Lives Matter, red and yellow, black and white, all lives matter in God's sight. Right on, Maui, bro. Again, the fact that they got that many pay-per-views, 1.3 million. Now, this is the YouTube generation. These are the people who are known for streaming things illegally. That's the market that they're appealing to. You got 1.3 million people that are purchasing it. That's huge. The last time a boxing pay-per-view had close to that, I think, was when Roy Jones and Tyson fought. They got about 1 million. But that again, that speaks to something. These are all exhibition-like fights. These are all your social media and your influencer kinds of things. These aren't the real fights per se. But this is where the money's going. Now, I take that back. The last boxing match that did around these numbers was this year, and that was Ryan Garcia, who's known for his social media presence, and Tank Davis. But I think it was more than just the social media presence that did it. It's a fight that the people wanted to see. And likewise with Misfits, they wanted to see Dylan Dennis because he's been trolling everyone. They wanted to see if he was going to back it up against I was going to say Jake, but Logan Paul, which he did not at all. And if anyone knows Dylan Danielson, his fighting style, you know that's about what you get from him. He getting whooped up on the streets by bouncers and little old ladies. But anyway, I digress. They're giving the people what they want to see. Now, was it something to behold? It really wasn't. It was, I mean, Misfits was the proper name because it was a misfit of a card. I mean, just all kinds of just craziness going on. Will people continue to pay for that? I don't know. But the fact that people are putting their money there, and we have Showtime Boxing going away, or Showtime Sports as a whole, which means the Showtime Boxing is going away. Espinoza being laid off immediately when they made that announcement. You have them going away. A couple years ago, you had HBO go away. Within the past couple years, Fox was carrying boxing, and that is no more. So you're seeing boxing being pulled away on a number of different levels, but it's, growing here. Why is that? Again, I believe it's because they're giving the people what they want to see versus just putting on some fights. If it's just a fight, I mean, because I know I've got Showtime and I've been watching Showtime Boxing, and I got it for that and for Bellator. But I really watch Bellator on it more than I watch the boxing. When the boxing comes on, it's like, okay, I might catch it, I might not catch it, because again, it's not really what the people want to see. And they're putting their money where their mouth is, and that's not with these boxing cards.
I mean, that's a great take. And we talk about that all the time, about these promoters holding up the fights that people want to see. And now we're actually seeing the cause of it being carried out here, because the casual fans are going to pay for it. It's the diehard fans who want to see the made fights, the Shakur Stevens, those type of fights that we're still struggling to get made, that we didn't have to go through in the 90s. In the 90s, you got those fights. Like, you got those fights on a consistent basis, and that was the time that boxing thrived. So promoters, if you're watching, you have to get back to the essence of the sport. No one really cares about being undefeated. That's a Floyd Mayweather thing that he was highly successful at, and everyone can't do it. You have to get back to the essence of the sport, of people wanting to get into the ring, to box, to show supremacy, so people can come back and love the sport, and we don't have to have things like Showtime Boxing, which is a staple for years,
right,
turning off their division. So there's that. Hopefully they can get it together, and we can start getting these fights done. Now we're going to take a quick break and get a message from our friends at Ozell. You already know what it is. But when we come back, biggest fight of the year. There should be a championship fight possibly, but it's not. And women's history is being made. We'll be right back.
It's not just about the love of the game. It's about dedication and commitment through the process, and the patience to endure. There's joy in reaching your goals, and peace in knowing you've done all you're supposed to do. Ozell brand. It's not just a brand, it's a lifestyle.
There you go. Football season is upon us. Baseball, anything you need cleats for, make sure you go and grab you some Ozell.
Soccer.
There you go. Get you some Bruce voice Royce in that royal blue and black. That voice always wearing. Voice be showing up like the Last Dragon everywhere. With his
I got him on right now.
There you go.
Kill him in the streets.
Shout out to our amazing sponsor. Now, Voice, we've been talking about this for months. They've been talking about this since early 2022. And one of the biggest fights of the year is going to be taking place when the Predator meets the Gypsy King, as Tyson Fury faces MMA star Francis Ngannou in what is being called an official bout, 10 rounds, that's going to be taking place October 28th in Saudi Arabia. Now, while Ngannou is considered to be an MMA legend, you're not even giving him a shot to defeat Fury, who currently reigns on top of the heavyweight division in boxing, reluctantly, based on some who feel like maybe he should have just focused on the ring and his actual adversaries instead of Ngannou. Now, taking a look at the tail of the tape, Voice, Ngannou gives up 2 inches in reach and 5 inches in height advantage. But he believes that he's going to be silencing his doubters and the lack of respect from Fury's camp. But surprisingly, while training with Mike Tyson, Ngannou actually admitted that he believes that both he and Fury are looking past each other, stating, "I'm looking past him too." Ngannou actually believes that Tyson Fury is looking past him, which is possible based off of that Usyk fight that he decided to take. And he said, "Do you think my life is going to stop after this? No. Do you think my career is going to end after this? No. I have a future after this fight. I'm looking on the stuff." No later than last week, I was on the phone with Peter Murray talking about PFL stuff. So yes, he has a right to look past me, and we're not going to war, and we're not going to die. We're just going to fight, and we're going to go back to continuing our lives afterwards. Now, surprisingly, in another interview, in spite of all that, Ngannou also stated concerning defeating Fury, everything is possible. He stated, "Let me tell you something. From where I came from, everything that I've done, nobody believed in me. Usually, like I say, I'm very sure of myself. A knockout can happen, but I don't want to lose focus against him. He acts like a fool, but he's very smart. I'm very focused, and I'm very, very ready for everything that's to come. I know this fight is going to be tough for me." Now, on the Fury side, Tyson is not telling you he's looking past him. He's preparing for a championship bout with Usyk, but he stated that seeing Ngannou train with Mike Tyson is a dream, but he also understands the risk of fighting Ngannou with a big showdown ahead with Usyk could be detrimental. He said it's very good for Mike to be a part of this promotion. He's done a good job promoting Francis, and it's a pleasure of having a living legend that I'm named after because I believe what Mike Tyson is. To have a living legend in the same ring as me on that night is fantastic, and I'm very happy. But he also stated, what will be, will be. At this present moment in my life, I'm only interested in Ngannou, and if I get a massive cut, 27 inches across the eyebrow, and I get an injury right hand or a broken rib in victory, then that's what I'll do. I'm not too concerned about Usyk at all. All of my focus and energy is going into fighting Francis, and I've given it an unbelievable preparation. Now, Voice, this is 2 different takes that you would all automatically feel would be switched around. You would think Ngannou would be stating what Fury is saying, and Fury would be stating what Ngannou is stating. What's your thoughts on the preparation into the fight, and with this intel, what are we looking into?
As far as the preparation is concerned, it's interesting because after Fury, or I should say after it was stated that Fury and Usyk had been signed, then you hear about Fury bringing people in to camp to prepare for that fight. So that definitely sounds like you're looking past this match. If you're saying, yeah, I can do it, and he's trying to do it in December, in 2 months. I mean, we just had Volkanovski turn around quickly and fight, or I should say come in on short notice and fight Makhachev, and we had Usman do that as well. But you don't see that in boxing, and definitely not at the highest levels are people taking short notice fights. And though this isn't quite short notice, it's pretty short notice. He really seems as if he's looking past him, but can you blame him? Fury has never boxed professionally in his life. When you look, I'm sorry, Ngannou, thank you, has never boxed professionally in his life. Yeah, Fury's done a lot of professional boxing stuff. wrong person. Thank you for that call out. Yeah, he's never done that. Is this what he wanted to do? Yeah, that's what he planned on doing. I want to go to France and I want to be a professional boxer. And then his MMA, or I should say his coach, was like, I see what you're doing, but you know what? You actually could probably get to where you want to get faster if you go the MMA route. And sure enough, he did. That's why we're talking about him now. Fury is taking the right approach to it based on these things. He said that, look, I'm trying not to get hit at all, because he does know that, Francis hits very, very hard. I mean, it goes down in the history books as being the hardest hitter in history. You know, like he hit a sensor and it was like a car crash. So, you know, trying not to get hit is good, and he should try. How long will he be able to do that? Francis, in his career with 4-ounce gloves, I can't say that I can remember him ever being hurt. Now, is Fury a different beast? Yes, he is, because he's a big old boy with some power and skills and movement and things of that nature. You know, Francis won't be able to tie up to rest in boxing. You know, he won't be able to take it to the ground and then hold to get some rest or win some rounds. So it's really about his punching ability. If he can land that perfect shot, like Deontay Wilder said, you know, you have to be perfect for all 12 rounds. I only have to be perfect, you know, for about 10 to 12 seconds. If he can be perfect in that 10 to 12 seconds, he can shock the world.
I mean, you're looking at, he's training with Mike Tyson. What is Mike Tyson known for? Mike Tyson is known as for getting up on you, getting into that body. Now you got a 6'4" Ngannou who's lower to the ground than Fury, who coming from MMA, he knows how to do that. I mean, voice, one body shot can literally change the landscape possibly of boxing. Like, and I have to ask this because I know this is an exhibition, and I know that
Ngannou was professional fight.
I know Ngannou was playing it, but they're still considering an exhibition. It's not for a championship. It's 10 rounds and nothing happens after this. What happens, voice, if Ngannou does what most people say that he can't do, and he knocks the crown off the Gypsy King? What happens then?
Oh, he becomes the king of the world if he does that. If he is able to defeat him, if he's able to knock him out, I mean, you could call him, because again, this is a professional bout. You could call him the king. You could call him the baddest man on the planet. You can call him the champion, the world champion, the lineal champion, if you want to, because you're fighting a professional fight against the lineal champion, and you beat the lineal champ, you become the champ. So right. Yeah, I mean, he has so much to gain, not just monetarily, but status wise, if he is able to pull off the upset.
That would be major for PFL. But what happens to Tyson Fury? Does Tyson Fury just go into the Usyk bout, and is it the same, or like how does he handle a loss to Ngannou after literally being undefeated? He's only one time not had a win, and that was his draw with Deontay Wilder. And we saw what happened in the trilogy to that. What happens with Fury? What does he do?
It could be devastating. We already talked about him trying to get a 10 fight contract because he doesn't know what to do when he's not fighting. You lose to someone making their boxing debut, and you are the baddest man on the planet boxing wise. Like that could be absolutely detrimental. It could cause the fight with Usyk not to be a thing, because you know, if Ngannou, who cannot box, knocks you out, then what is this skilled boxer, you know, going to do? It removes that invincibility, and it really could change a whole lot. Again, the probability of this happening is very, very small, but if it were to happen, yeah, it's a whole new world come Sunday morning.
I feel it, voice. I ain't calling no shots. We don't do that here on the main card. I'm not calling any shots, but I feel like next Tuesday, well, not next Tuesday because we're off, but I feel like Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, is going to be on fire. Something's going to happen, and I don't think it's going to be something that we can expect. That's going to be exciting. Now, the one thing about it is, like you said, Ngannou is fighting against history. Now, there's the 36 is the number that we want to focus on. That's the round started by Ngannou in MMA. He's gone the distance on 4 of those occasions, but he's 1-3 in those bouts. So he hasn't really shown the ability to win going those distances. And like we said before, Fury, who is undefeated in the ring, has only seen one fight, not in his favorite. That was the 2018 split decision with Deontay Wilder. That was the first in the trilogy. We saw what happened the next two. Shout out to Deontay Wilder because he fought diligently. Fury was just on another level at that point in time. But that's going to be amazing to see. Now, the excitement doesn't end this weekend, boys. When Amanda Serrano and Danila Ramos meet at the Carib Royale here in Orlando, I felt like the screech was going to come. Two numbers are going to play a major. Two numbers are going to play a major part in the women's featherweight title bout that have never mattered before. 12-3. The two are going to fight 12 3-minute rounds instead of the official 10 2-minute rounds for the title fights in women's boxing. So this will be the first women's unified championship fight ever fought under the same rules as men, and this is going to be the first since 2007. Mm-hmm. Now for Serrano, this is a major opportunity and a huge win for women's boxing. In her recent statements, she stated, "This fight is about more than some belts. We have faced a long and hard battle, united as women to achieve the same pay, respect, and recognition in boxing. Now, together on Friday, October 27th, we will make history and we'll prove to the world once again how incredible women's boxing is and that we are just as tough, dynamic, and capable as any man in the ring, if not more so." Now, Serrano's a legend, so I'm not going against that. This is a fight for women everywhere to be treated the same as their male counterparts. Serrano, who's no stranger actually to big fights, she continues to reset the bar for the women's sport while at the same time focusing on the task in hand. Now, one big thing that you have to realize is currently Amanda sits second all time for the most KOs in women boxing history. Now, with the change in the timing in the rounds and the fact that Serrano has gone the distance in her last 6 fights, partially on her mind, she stated, "I have to maintain my punch output and my ferociousness, knowing I'm fighting 3-minute rounds instead of being explosive for 2 minutes." She stated, "I respect Danila Ramos. She's a tough Latina and a worthy challenger. But as long as I do all those things, I believe the 3 minutes in each round will make a difference." Now, as for the 12-2 Ramos, who kind of comes off as an afterthought here, she's definitely not. She understands the moment and she's excited for the challenge coming up. Now, she's currently on a 4-fight winning streak, and she stated, "Fighting Amanda Serrano for 12 3-minute rounds for a unified championship is set to break the barriers that we women have been looking to do so for many years. We will go down in history in the books no matter what happens." Now, I mean, voice, this is major. Like, this is big, and it seems like every time Amanda Serrano steps into the ring, she's making some kind of history. Her last fight with Katie Taylor was also a historic moment. What are your thoughts on this potentially being something moving forward that is permanent for women's boxing?
This is a watershed moment because women's fights, specifically women's sports as a whole, but especially with women's fights, they've had the Rodney Dangerfield syndromes. Like they get no respect. The fact that there are some medical reports out there that say, "Oh, women's skulls are not as thick as men's skulls," which that I'm sure a lot of women would like to hear that because they call us thick skulls anyway. But that's not the case. So them fighting all this time, I mean, even the WBC, which is the most prestigious, or I should say, of the sanctioning bodies, it's the one that generally carries the most cachet. They're not sanctioning this bout. It says a lot. It says a lot. One thing that you may know of, if you love watching fights, is that in MMA, the women are just as popular and in demand and respected as the men. In some cases, even more so.
Definitely.
And their pay reflects that. Amanda Serrano is a 6-division champion. She's fought and gotten the title in 6 different divisions, all the way from 114 pounds up to 140 pounds. But you know where else she's fought? In MMA. She has a contract with PFL to fight with them. And why is she fighting MMA? Why is Clarissa Shields also fighting in the PFL? It's the money. It's the money and the respect that goes along with it. They don't get that respect. And I think part of it is because of these different rules. I remember when Strikeforce started having 5-minute rounds for women for championships. You know, I remember when that happened. I feel like it was the first fight, or I shouldn't say the first fight, the last fight Gina Carano had when she fought Chris Cyborg. And since then, they've gone on to continue to do that, and it's really helped with leveling the playing field. This can help with leveling the playing field. You talked about how Serrano has made history. She and Katie Taylor did like 1 million and had more people watching that fight than any other woman's fight in history up to that point. If there's anyone to blaze a trail, it's the vet in Serrano, who's won 45 fights, only lost 2, and has a draw. Now, Ramos should lose on paper, but this is why we don't do things on paper, because on paper, Sean Strickland should have lost to Israel Adesanya, and we see how that went. So it'll be interesting to see how things go, but at the very base level, on Friday, October 27th, history will be made.
That's definitely an awesome point. And Serrano is a monster in the ring. Of her 2 losses, both were actually by decision. There was a championship bout against Frida Wahlberg. That was in 2012.
Right.
And then her most recent split decision loss to Katie Taylor at MSG in 2022. And Amanda definitely wants her to get back on that. That's going to be amazing. Now, Voice, before we close out, I got to ask you about this question. With 12 rounds, 3 minutes fights, it doesn't matter the promotion. It doesn't matter anything else. Who are the 2 women you would love to see in the ring first?
I would like to see Serrano and Taylor again, because the longer the fight goes on, I think the better it goes for Serrano. Serrano's just too small for Taylor. That was really the bottom line. She was hitting her with everything she had, hard shots, but it was barely moving her. I think with having to fight for that long, that would make a greater difference, and she may be able to be victorious. It was a split decision. Going that distance could very well have tilted the scales.
Awesome take. We'll definitely possibly get to see that in the future. Make sure, ladies and gentlemen, that you are on social media following The Voice, because you already know this weekend is going to be lit. And Voice says everything that he wants to say, regardless of the outcome. Thank you for tuning in with us. Voice, before we actually get into everything, I know you probably have a couple last words that you want to share with us about what else we should be looking for. Tell us what we should be looking for this weekend, Voice.
Well, Oshaki Foster is taking on Eduardo Ramos on Saturday as well, and that is for Ramos's junior lightweight title, if I'm not mistaken. Outside of that, there's not much else going on this weekend. There was some news recently that was made as far as fights were concerned. It was some contracted. Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, not really news, more so rumors. Jake Paul and Dana White have a very contentious relationship, but Jake is pulling some Dana type moves. It was announced recently that he signed a contract to fight Nate Diaz in the PFL, but Nate already said, I don't know that if I fight you, that I would do it in the PFL. So just because you sign a contract doesn't mean that Nate has a contract, doesn't mean that he's agreed to the contract, doesn't mean that he is even considering the contract. It just means that you're trying to put stuff out there to force something to happen. I love to see that fight because then Nate could get some get back and be victorious. So,
I mean,
thank you.
Thank you, Mom. I mean, Nate has been vocal recently of saying he wants that rematch. So now you got the possibility of getting a rematch and you don't want it? Come on. Nate's taking that money. This is just talk right now. I think Nate's taking that money, and it'll be a great fight. Like you said, it'll be a chance for him to get that get back because a lot of people kind of felt like there were a lot of things left on the floor in that fight that we didn't get to see. So that's going to be great. Ladies and gentlemen, mtmvpn.com. That's the website. That's where you can go. You can actually get a chance to see all of our beautiful faces, meet some of our other co-hosts, and actually check out our other shows. There's also articles on the website now. We're writing a number of articles for you on the daily, sometimes weekly basis, covering your favorite sports out there. We have a show for you literally probably almost every day of the week. So MTMV at any time. Make sure you also like, share, and subscribe here. And wherever you listen to your podcast, we there. So if you can't see these beautiful faces, you see my skin luxurious and I use Wakandan water. If you can't see that, you can still hear about it on the podcast when you're driving in your car, you're going wherever you're going. I see Voice about to say something crazy right now. So let's go ahead and get out with
just what's up, Timeless. That's right. Get that get back. It's time to get that get back. That's awesome. The only crazy thing I got to say.
Awesome. Thank you all for an amazing show. Thank you for tuning in. Voice, we will not be here next week, correct?
No, we won't be here next week, but the following week we will.
There we go. So you got a week. Make sure you catch up. Make sure you tune in and send your questions, and we're always ready to answer your questions. Voice, take us out.
Till next time, fight the good fight.
What's going on, family? It's your man, Wildress.
And it's your man, the myth, the legend, the voice.
And you just finished watching the main card on the MTMV network.
Yeah, for more great shows just like this, smash the subscribe button and keep fighting the good fight.